Captain Elias Ward stood at the edge of the hangar bay, staring at the strange silver box. It sat alone in the center of the floor, glowing softly like it was alive. The label on the side read in bold alien script, "A gift of gratitude from the Baron." Someone had translated it below in plain English. "Open with care." Elias frowned. He had seen many things in space wars, lost civilizations, living machines, but never a gift like this. The box hadn't come through the usual channels. It just appeared overnight on his ship, the Starfire. No delivery logs. No scans showing how it got there. Just there. His second in command, Lieutenant Mira, walked over slowly. "Should we open it, sir?" she asked, her hand near her blaster. Elias didn't answer at first. He felt uneasy. The box was quiet, but it had a presence. Like it was waiting. "This is from the Baron," Elias said finally. "He doesn't give gifts. He makes deals. And this doesn't feel like a deal." The crew gathered around from a distance. Everyone had heard the story. A few months ago, Elias had saved the Baron's planet from a deadly virus. He had broken the quarantine when no one else dared. He brought the cure. The Baron had bowed before him, a rare sign of respect. But Elias never asked for anything in return. So why this? He walked up to the box. It was about the size of a coffin. Smooth and metallic, but light pulsed softly along its seams, green, blue, then red. A strange rhythm. Like breathing. "Scan it," he ordered. Myra pulled out a scanner. The results made her pause. No explosives. No tech we can identify. But it's alive. Alive? Elias echoed. "Something inside is breathing." She confirmed. Slow, steady, like it's sleeping. Now more crew members backed away. "Baron didn't send us a weapon," someone whispered. "He sent us a trap." Elias ignored the voices. He stared at the box, heart pounding. Then, slowly, he reached forward and placed his hand on the lid. The box responded instantly. It hissed as seals unlocked. Cold steam escaped, flooding the hangar floor. Everyone froze as the lid lifted on its own. Inside was not a bomb, not a machine, but a girl. She looked young, no more than 15. Her skin was soft blue, glowing faintly under the ship lights. Long silver-white hair curled around her shoulders. She was curled up like she had been sleeping for years. Her chest rose and fell gently. She was breathing, and she was beautiful. In a strange alien way. No one spoke. Then Elias saw the second message inside the box, engraved on a small glowing panel. "To the human who saved our world, I offer my most valuable treasure, one born of peace, not war. Protect her, raise her, or let her die in silence. She is yours now." Baron Vectamira gasped. "She's the gift?" Elias stepped back, mind spinning. "What the hell is this, Baron?" Just then, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened, bright. Silver, like starlight. She looked straight at Elias. Not afraid, not confused, just curious. She opened her mouth, and in a soft, clear voice, she asked, "Are you human?" Elias swallowed hard. "Yes, I'm Captain Elias Ward." The girl blinked slowly. "Then you are my guardian." That word hit like a shockwave. Elias wasn't sure what to say. Around him, the crew whispered again. "What does she mean? Guardian? Is she dangerous?" Myra leaned closer. "Sir, we should isolate her. Medical check, full bioscan." But Elias held up a hand. "No, we treat her like a person first." He looked into the girl's eyes again. "What's your name?" She paused, then said softly, "I don't have one. The Baron never gave me one." Elias felt anger rise in his chest. A living being, created and kept in a box like cargo. Gifted like an object. He made a decision right there. "Then from now on, your name is Sivara," he said. "You're safe here." The girl smiled slightly. For the first time, something warm flickered in her eyes. But even as she sat up slowly, the silver light around the box began to fade, and alarms started ringing in the hangar. Unidentified ship approaching. A crewman yelled, "Weapons active." Elias turned to the view screen. An alien ship, black, jagged, and deadly, was heading straight for them. Myra gasped. They followed the box. Savara stood up. "They're here to take me back," she whispered. Elias stepped in front of her, his voice cold. "They'll have to go through me first." Savara stepped out of the glowing box, her bare feet touching the cold steel floor of the hangar. Her movement was slow and graceful, like she had never walked before, but somehow still knew how. The entire crew watched silently. No one dared breathe too loudly. They weren't just curious. They were afraid. The girl didn't seem scared at all. Her silver eyes scanned the room calmly, like she had already seen it all in her dreams. She looked at the blinking lights, the metal walls, the crew's uniforms. Then her eyes stopped. On Elias, she tilted her head slightly and took a small step forward. "You are Captain Elias Ward," she said softly. "The one the stars whispered about." Elias blinked. "What did you say?" She looked up at the ceiling. The box wasn't silent. It sang. It spoke to me as I slept. Your name was always in the melody. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Elias lowered his voice. "How do you know my name? How do you speak English so well?" She looked down at her hands. "I don't know how, I just do. The Baron made sure I would. He built language into me. He built many things into me." Now she looked directly into Elias's eyes. "But he never gave me freedom." Before Elias could speak, the ship shook violently. Red lights flashed across the hangar. A voice came from the intercom. "Enemy. Ship is now within range. Shields holding, but for how long we don't know." Elias turned to Myra. "Get us to high orbit." "Full shields. I need time to think." He turned back to the girl. "Savara, do you know why they're chasing you?" She nodded. "Because I am the only one left." Elias frowned. "Only one, what?" Savara stepped closer to him. She placed her hand on his chest, just over his heart. "The last of the gifted. A failed project. I was supposed to lead them. But I didn't want to be a queen, so they sealed me in silence." The temperature around her dropped. Frost began to form under her feet. The lights above flickered. Myra stepped forward. "Sir, something's happening to the ship's systems." Savara turned away. "It's me." "I'm sorry. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just feel too much." Elias grabbed his coat from a hook and gently wrapped it around her shoulders. "Then let's find a place where you can feel safely." He led her out of the hangar and into the inner corridors of the ship. The crew moved aside as she passed, unsure if she was a guest, a weapon, or something else entirely. They stopped at the observation deck glass walls, showing endless stars. Savara walked to the edge and stared out. "So many worlds," she whispered. "And yet, I was never allowed to see them." Elias stood beside her. "What do you remember from before the box?" She paused. "Pain, learning, testing, and then silence. Like being asleep and awake at the same time, like breathing through a cage." She turned to him. "But when you touched the box, I felt warmth. I felt your name." He frowned. "What do you mean?" "I don't know how," she said, voice trembling. "But I think I was made for you." Elias stepped back slightly, surprised at just then. Myra's voice came through the intercom again. "Sir, we have incoming transmission from the enemy ship. They're demanding we return the package." "Put it through," Elias said. A blue-skinned alien appeared on the screen. His eyes were cold, his voice sharp. "Captain Ward, you've taken something that doesn't belong to you. Return the girl, or your ship will be turned to ash." Elias replied firmly. "She's not a thing, she's a person." And she asked for protection. The alien's lips curled in disgust. That person is an unstable experiment, a danger to all species. She was sealed for good reason. Don't be a fool, human. The screen went black. Elias turned to Savara. What do they mean? Are you dangerous? She didn't answer right away. Then she slowly raised her hand, and a small floating orb of glowing light appeared in her palm. It danced in the air like fire and snow at once. Then, just as gently, it vanished. I don't want to hurt anyone, she said quietly. But I was made to. Elias took a deep breath. Then it's time you learn who you want to be, not what they made you. Savara nodded slowly. For the first time, her shoulders relaxed just a little, but her eyes remained focused on the stars. Then teach me, Elias Ward, she said, before they come to break me again. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command room, staring at Savara's medical scan. The ship's doctor had run every test twice. The results made no sense. She's not fully biological, Dr. K whispered. Half of her is synthetic. But it's not like any AI we know. Her brain is alive, but also coded. It's like someone didn't just raise her, they programmed her. Elias looked over at the transparent window. Savara sat quietly in the medical bay, playing with a small silver sphere. She wasn't doing anything dangerous, just watching it float and spin with her mind. But even that simple trick felt unnatural, powerful. I've seen telepaths before, Kay added. But this is different. She doesn't just sense thoughts, she shapes them. Elias nodded slowly. What do you mean? Dr. K leaned closer. She calmed a guard earlier. He was panicking. Couldn't breathe. The moment she touched his hand, he went quiet like a sleeping baby. She didn't use drugs or tech. She just willed him to be okay. Elias looked away. A mind like no other, he thought. Later that day, he went to speak with Savara. She sat in a chair, staring at a holomap of the stars. When she saw Elias, she smiled slightly. I like this room. It feels quiet. You don't like noise? He asked. Noise hurts, she said softly. Everyone's mind is so loud. Thoughts scream, memories clash. But yours, she paused, yours is quiet. Like a song in a deep cave. Elias chuckled. Never thought of myself that way. She stood and walked slowly toward him. You wonder if I'm dangerous? He didn't answer. She continued, I am. That single sentence froze him. I was made to lead armies, she said, looking at her hands, to speak to thousands with one thought. I can shut down nervous systems. I can turn friend against friend. That's why they locked me in the box. She looked up, silver eyes glowing faintly. But I never wanted that. Elias folded his arms. Then what do you want? She blinked. I want to laugh, to feel sunshine, to eat something sweet, to have a name that means something. I want a life. He nodded. That's a good place to start. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the ship. Myra's voice boomed through the speakers. Captain, intruders on board. They bypassed the shields. 5 cloaked figures just materialized in the cargo bay. Elias rushed to the hallway, Savara right behind him. He stopped her. Stay here. No, she said calmly. They came for me. I should face them. Before he could argue, her body lit up with faint pulses of blue energy. Her hair floated slightly, like it was alive. Elias stared. What are you doing? I'm calling my mind, she said. Not to harm, to protect. They ran toward the cargo bay together. Inside, 5 masked aliens, elite hunters, surrounded one of Elias's crew. The soldier trembled, blaster shaking in his grip. One hunter turned, raising a blade toward him. Savara stepped forward. Stop, she said, her voice echoing like thunder and music at once. The air thickened. Everyone froze. Then it happened. The hunters turned toward her, but suddenly one dropped his weapon, fell to his knees, and began crying like a child. The others backed away, confused, afraid. Savara's eyes glowed brightly now. She didn't move her body, but the minds in the room bent to her presence. "You were lied to," she whispered to the attackers. "They said I'm a monster. But who made me this way?" The hunters looked shaken. One dropped his weapon and whispered, "She's telling the truth." But then, from behind them, a mechanical voice rang out from a small drone. "Fail to capture her, and you die." The drone exploded, vaporizing 2 hunters instantly. The others panicked and teleported away. Sivara fell to her knees. Blood dripped from her nose. Elias rushed to her side. "Too much," she gasped. "I held too many minds. I'm still learning control." He caught her before she collapsed. "You did more than control. You saved them." As the ship sealed the breach and returned to quiet, Elias carried her to the medbay. His mind raced with questions, but one thing was clear. She wasn't just powerful. She was dangerous. Yes, but she was choosing to be kind. And that made her more human than anyone expected. Asterisk. The Starfire drifted quietly through a dark patch of space. No planets nearby, no stars, just shadow. Captain Elias had ordered the crew to power down all non-essential systems. No lights, no signals. They were hiding, but Savara knew it wouldn't last. She sat on the floor of the observation deck, legs crossed, eyes closed. Her long silver hair spread around her like light threads. She was listening, not with her ears, but with her mind. "They're getting closer," she whispered. Elias stood behind her. "You can feel them again?" "Yes," she replied softly. "They don't use machines to track me. They use memory. They connect to me through pain." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "They created me," she said. "They put something in my mind, something I can't turn off. It calls to them like a beacon. Every time I use my gifts, the signal grows stronger." Elias walked over and sat beside her. "Then we'll find a way to block it. Break it." She opened her eyes. "It's not just tech, it's alive. They didn't just build me, they bred me to obey." Her voice broke for the first time. "And now they're angry that I won't." A quiet silence settled between them. Then, the ship's eye whispered through the speaker, "Captain, enemy ship detected at extreme range. It's cloaked, but decaying particles show approach vector." Elias stood quickly. "They found us," Savara nodded. "It's not just a ship. It's them, the Council's hounds." He had heard stories. Soldiers made from mind control. Fanatics who would chase targets across galaxies with no rest. They didn't sleep. They didn't talk, they only obeyed. "How many?" Elias asked. 3. "No, 5, she answered. "All connected. All trained to break me." Elias tapped his cum. "All hands, prepare for silent defense. No weapons unless I say, no signals. We're ghosts." Mira's voice crackled in. "Sir, they're too fast. If they board us, we won't have a chance without a fight." "I know," he replied. "We need another way." Savara stood. "There is one." Elias turned. "Tell me." She looked at him, her face serious. "I need to open my mind fully. Let them in. Make them believe I've given up." "That's too risky," he said. "They'll take you." She smiled weakly. "Only if they can hold me." Minutes later, Savara stood in the center of the ship's core chamber alone. The lights dimmed. A strange hum filled the room as she raised her arms. Outside, the enemy ship changed course. It accelerated, locking onto the signal. They were coming. The first hound appeared in a flash of green light, tall, thin, wearing a black metal mask. Then the others followed, forming a circle around her. One stepped forward and hissed, "You broke your purpose." Savara replied calmly, "I found a better one." They raised their weapons. Long staffs charged with psychic energy. Sivara didn't flinch. She looked directly at the leader and said, "You don't have to do this." The leader paused, but only for a second. Then they struck. Blinding light filled the chamber. Energy screamed through the air. The ship trembled, but then silence. The crew watched from behind sealed doors. They couldn't see inside. Only Elias had direct audio, and what he heard chilled him. The hounds were screaming. Then a voice echoed through every speaker on the ship. Not Sivara's voice, but hers, amplified, deeper, and powerful. I am not your weapon. I am not your property. I am not your prisoner. The lights went out. When they came back, all 5 hounds lay on the floor unmoving, masks shattered, minds broken. Sivara stood in the center breathing heavily. Her hands shook. Elias ran to her. Are you hurt? She looked at him, eyes shining with tears. No. But I felt it, the part inside me that wanted to obey. I had to crush it. It screamed as I did. He held her shoulders gently. You're free now, she nodded. They won't stop. Others will come. The council won't let me go. Elias stared at the fallen enemies. Then they'll have to go through me again. Sivara smiled faintly. They think I'm a mistake, but maybe I'm a beginning. As the ship prepared to flee once more, Elias realized the truth. This wasn't just about protecting Sivara anymore. This was about stopping the people who created her and all the horrors they might still be hiding. The stars outside the starfire shimmered like cold fireflies as the ship hovered near a forgotten space station dead. Dark and silent. No signals. No shields. Just a name carved on its side in cracked alien script. Arc-9.siv. Ra stood at the viewport, staring at it. Her voice was low. That's where I was born. Elias stepped beside her. Born or made? She didn't answer at first. Her eyes remained on the broken station. I don't remember pain. I don't remember warmth either, only lights. Voices behind glass. Hands that never touched me, but moved my body with machines. Elias looked at the eerie station. It wasn't in any galactic records. Almost like someone wanted it erased. How did you remember this place? He asked. Sevilla. Ra touched her head. It woke inside me. Like a key turning in a locked door. The more I fight my creators, the more pieces return. She turned to him. And I need to know who I really am. Minutes later, a small team landed. On the station, Elias, Sivara, Mira, and 2 security guards. The air was stale. The walls were covered in dust and dried organic matter. Machines sat rotting in silence. Lights flickered to life as they stepped in. The station recognized her. Welcome, Subject 9, a robotic voice said. Ria froze. That's not my name. A console glowed. Elias tapped a few keys. Files opened, recordings, lab notes, genetic charts, and one video file labeled Project Crown Final Trial. They played it. The screen showed a laboratory. Sivara, much younger, was strapped to a floating table. Wires ran into her head. Around her, alien scientists in red robes watched as she screamed silently. Her mouth open, but no sound came out. Her body convu LSED. The lead scientist spoke. Subject 9 shows increased resistance to obedience code. Emotional deviation. Rising. Termination advised. Another replied. No. The Baron intervened. He says she will serve another purpose. The file ended. Sivara stood completely still. No tears, just silence. Elias shut off the screen. You don't need to see more. I do, she said quietly. I was never a daughter. I was never a child. I was data. A project. Something to fix or throw away. She turned toward the main lab room. But why did the Baron save me? They found a sealed vault. Inside, among the broken servers, sat a message capsule, one that only responded to Sivara's DNA. It played a final video. The Baron himself appeared, much younger, his face tired but calm. To the one reading this, if you are the girl I placed in the box, then listen carefully. I couldn't save the others. You were the only one I could hide. The council wanted perfection. I wanted peace. They saw a weapon. I saw a daughter. He paused, lowering his voice. I was weak. I couldn't protect you openly. But I hoped one day you would awaken and find someone strong enough to protect you. The message ended. Sivara whispered. He cared? Ilias nodded slowly. He'd betray his own counsel to smuggle you out. That box wasn't a prison. It was a rescue pod. She sat down on the floor, touching the dusty metal. Then why does it still hurt? Ilias knelt beside her. Because you're not just code, you feel. That's proof you're more than what they made you. She looked at him, her voice shaking. All those memories. The pain, the control. What if I lose myself again? He gently took her hand. Then we'll pull you back. Suddenly, the station's lights dimmed. The ship's radio crackled. Myra's voice shouted, Captain! A stealth fleet just appeared. 3 warships. There. Moving toward the station, Ilias stood. They tracked her here. They knew she'd come. Sivara rose slowly, her body glowing faintly again. Then maybe it's time I stop running. He looked at her unsure. You're not ready for war. She turned toward the broken lab, her voice calm. I'm not fighting them as their weapon. Anymore, I'm facing them as myself. Outside the window, warships closed in ready to reclaim their creation. But what they didn't know was this. The girl in the box had found her truth, and she would never go back. Asterisk, the 3 enemy warships floated above the dead space station like metal predators, their weapons humming with energy. Inside the starfire, alarms blared. Red lights spun in circles. Every crew member was at their post. But everyone knew this fight was not ordinary. This time, they weren't just defending a ship. They were defending Sivara's right to exist. Captain Ilias Ward stood at the bridge window, staring into the dark. His fingers tapped slowly on the rail. Any message from them? He asked. Myra shook her head. They're silent. No warnings. No demands. Ilias understood what that meant. They've stopped asking. Now they're just here to take. Sivara entered the bridge. She wore a silver suit, now a mix of human and alien tech, designed to contain and channel her energy. Her long hair was tied back. Her face was calm, but her eyes were glowing softly like twin stars. Elias turned. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, she replied gently. If I don't stand today, I'll run forever. He walked closer to her. If something goes wrong, it won't, she said, because I'm not alone anymore. A deep hum filled the ship. Outside, one enemy cruiser moved forward, charging weapons. Elias gave the order, shields up. Divert all power to engines and forward defense. We're not backing down. Suddenly, Sivara stepped forward, opened the outer shields. For 1 minute. What? Mira gasped. They'll fire on us. They're waiting to see fear, Sivara said. Let them see me instead. Reluctantly, Ilias nodded. The shields dropped. Sivara walked to the main window and closed her eyes. Then, everything changed. A blinding pulse of silver light exploded from her body, quiet and powerful. It passed through the walls, through the hull, and into space. The enemy ships paused. For a few seconds. It felt like the stars themselves had stopped moving. On the enemy flagship, the crew dropped to their knees. Screams echoed. Their minds were being touched, not attacked, but reminded. Sivara wasn't just a creation. She was a sentient being. And their minds, deep inside, knew it was wrong to hurt her. But the console's override program kicked in. The lead commander, a cruel alien, with 6 glowing eyes, overrode his crew's hesitation. Initiate full assault, he roared. Ignore the signal. Destroy the traitor. The ships began to fire. Sivara's body burst with light again, this time faster, louder, wilder. Her voice echoed across the ship like thunder and song. Not again, not this time. She raised her hands. The enemy's missiles stopped in mid-space. They froze, cracked, and shattered like glass dot. Then Savara flew. She didn't need a suit or engine. The ship's side bay opened, and her body floated into the stars, glowing brighter than any weapon. The crew watched from the bridge. Myra whispered, "She's not human. She's something more." Elias didn't answer. He couldn't take his eyes off her. The enemy warships launched fighters, dozens of them. Drones, manned crafts, hybrids, all aiming straight at Savara. She raised her arms. Energy wings formed behind her, wide and blazing. With one motion, she sent a pulse that disabled half the fighters. No explosions, just silence, like they had forgotten how to fly. But the rest kept coming. They fired everything: missiles, plasma, kinetic slugs. Savara spun, danced, and weaved between them. Some hit her energy shield. Others vanished in silver. Flashes, but with each second, her glow began to dim. Inside the bridge, Elias shouted, "She's using too much power. We have to get her back." "No," Mira said quietly. "She's giving them a choice." Outside, the lead enemy ship opened its main cannon, enough to destroy the station and the Starfire in one hit. Savara floated in front of it. She opened her arms wide and whispered, "This is who I am now." A final wave of energy surged from her heart, pure, bright, and soft. It wasn't an attack. It was a message. "Let me go. Let me live." The enemy crew collapsed. Not dead, not harmed, just released from the chains of the Council's control. One by one, the enemy ships powered down. Engines cold, weapons off. And Savara began to fall. Elias screamed, "Lock onto her signal, bring her home." The Starfire's tractor beam caught her just before she drifted too far. She was unconscious, breathing slow. Her glow was dim, but still there. As the crew carried her to medbay, Elias whispered to himself, "You didn't fight them with hate. You fought them with truth." Savara slept for 3 days. In the medbay of the Starfire, she lay still under soft lights, her skin pale, her glow faded. Machines watched over her, but they couldn't heal what had been used: her energy, her strength, her soul. Captain Elias Ward never left her side. He sat near her, watching the quiet rise and fall of her chest. Every beep from the monitor, every twitch of her fingers, reminded him she was still fighting, just silently now. Dr. K entered with a tablet. "Her vitals are stable," he said. "But she needs time. She gave too much of herself." Elias nodded. "She saved us. All of us, without killing a single soul." Kay looked at the girl lying in silence. "She proved them wrong. She proved us wrong." Outside the ship's windows, the enemy fleet was still drifting, dark, disabled, and quiet. None of the crews attacked. Some even sent small messages: "We are awake now. Forgive us. Thank her." The Council had lost something far more powerful than a weapon. They had lost control. On the 4th day, Savara's eyes opened. She stared at the ceiling for a while, then slowly turned her head and saw Elias asleep in the chair beside her. His hand rested near hers on the bed. She smiled gently and placed her hand over his. His eyes opened at her touch. He sat up quickly. "Savara, I'm okay," she whispered. "Just tired." He laughed, relief in his voice. "You scared us." She nodded slowly. "I scared myself too." They sat in silence for a moment. Then Savara asked, "Did we win?" Elias looked at her. "You didn't just win. You changed everything." Later that day, the crew gathered in the ship's hall. Savara walked in, a little weak, but glowing again, not from power, but from life. She wore a new uniform designed just for her. Not a lab suit, not a battle suit, but one that made her look like family. Mira stepped forward and saluted her. "You've earned a place here, Savara, not because of your gifts, but because of your heart." The crew clapped. Some had tears in their eyes. Even the toughest among them smiled. Elias raised a small medal, forged from the melted pieces of the weapons she had stopped. "I've only given this to one person before," he said, "and he saved a planet." He pinned it gently to her chest. "You saved more than that. You saved us from ourselves." Savara looked at all the faces around her. Human, alien, machine, hybrid, all different. Yet all united. She whispered. "Then maybe this is where I was always meant to be." The next day, the Starfire left the dead station behind. As they passed a field of stars, Savara stood at the front deck with Elias. "Where to now?" she asked. "Wherever you want," he said. "You're not a mission. You're not a prisoner. You're free." She took a long breath and pointed to a blue star in the distance. "That one. I want to see what it feels like to land on a world." "That doesn't know my name," Elias nodded. "Then we'll go. Together." She turned to him and smiled, bright, honest, human. And for the first time, Savara wasn't a secret, wasn't a weapon, wasn't a number. She was just a girl, finally allowed to live.